This is not acceptable. It's not going to function the same. I don't understand how people call this a dupe. Ooh, this is bad. All right, welcome back. Today we are taking a look at Lululemon Align leggings and their alleged dupes. What the team has done is they've scoured the internet and social media and purchased the most popular alleged dupes of this product, covered all of the branding, so I have no idea what the products are. We're gonna see if they are worth it. Here we have the Lululemon Align leggings. At Shift, we've made several million leggings. So this is a topic that I'm very familiar with. Let's get our baseline here. This is what's going to be called a double brush fabric. It's going to be brushed on the inside and outside. They use mechanical brushes to actually destroy the surface of the fabric. Whenever you see labels on products, it might just be like,
they're made of the same percentages, the same things, and they look the same.
How you knit the fabric is going to be important. This type of yarn is going to be important. The filaments that make up each yarn is going to be important. Just because it says the same composition, it does not mean it is the same fabric. So their iconic design here, we have the fold over waistband, center back seam, center front seam, gusset. If you are going to have a front seam and back seam, tension that's on the back will put tension on the front and cause camel toe. By putting in a gusset, you can pull on one side and allow that fabric to stretch in the center, which minimizes the tension. Fold over hem here, flat locked. For the waistband here, they will serge it, and then they are going to do a 3-needle cover stitch. And then we have the Lululemon brand mark in a reflective. There is the baseline. So let's take a look at the alleged dupes and let's see how they compare. So first up, we have number one. Immediately when I touch the fabric, a little bit smoother, a little bit stiffer, not as soft of a hand feel, a little more structured as well and thicker. Still a interlock knit. It almost looks like it's like slightly pilling already, and that's due to inconsistencies in the brushing. The perfect brushing is basically fuzz across the entire fabric. What I'm seeing here is more pockets of fuzz. Because they probably can't get a very consistent level of brushing at this factory, they've brought the brushing down. In terms of the design construction itself, it's really trying to be a direct dupe. It's basically copied the very long gusset panel here. With a lot of like dupes, they're not going to be using very expensive thread. Actually, one second. Let me get you some thread to show you. Okay, actually. This thread in this legging is going to be a textured yarn. You'll notice how fuzzy it is. By crimping the filaments, you're able to get thread that stretches. Versus this, there is no crimping. However, the thread itself has stretch to it. This is one of the cases where it looks the same, it's not going to function the same at all. Let's take a look at legging number two. Immediately, not the same. Oh, a lot of people associate the flat lock with a very athletic looking seam. However, flat lock machines are very expensive. We have a flat lock machine that cost me $20,000 for one machine versus a serger that you can get for under $2,000. What they've done is they've serged the seams, they fold it over, and then they put a cover stitch on top. It's not gonna be as strong as a flat lock. I can see some puckering here too, because they're not keeping even tension. Really rough over here. Ooh, loose threads in here. It's fairly loosely knit, so you probably will end up with sheerness issues here with these, to be honest. And it's probably going to pill as well. Also notice in the fabric here, they have brushed the outside. They have not brushed the inside. So it's single side brushed. So they went with a triangle gusset. But because this is a serge, this is a very thick seam. You're just gonna feel a lot of seam bulk in your glute crease. Okay, number three. So this is a lighter weight. This is double brush as well. They have flat locked all the seams. They've also done a longer gusset panel here. For hand feel, this is gonna be the closest so far. Oh, they've actually copied the pocket as well. These are going to be the closest out of what we've seen. Okay, number four. Hand feel, this one's pretty good, I would say. It's nice and soft. They've gone with a triangle gusset here. For speed of construction, they're running their gusset straight. But what ends up happening is your gusset is now shifted to one side. And when you're wearing it, now you're getting pressure of the seam pushing against one buttock. What I would have done is just change the gusset shape itself, so it allows you to sew a straighter seam. They have bar tack on the side here at the start and stop of the seam, which is nice. There is some excess fabric here. Yeah, you'll see it over here. There's no excess. Everything's fully encapsulated within the flat lock. This is why I talk about skills. It's not easy to run a flat lock. I've tried and I can't run a flat lock. Overall, I would say it's a decent legging with some interesting construction techniques. Number five. This is like This is like a 8317 nylon spandex. This is like very basic 5-7 years ago legging fabric. A modern day legging is what's called a interlock knit. This is a single jersey knit. If I were to pull this apart, you notice this knit structure here. You basically have your loops here and in between the spandex. On the back side, it's not the same because now you're seeing the back side of these loops. A lot of loose threads. I would say this is probably one of the cheaper leggings. I wouldn't be surprised you can make this for $3. They have done a gusset here, but they've also lined it with a different fabric that is smoother and a tighter knit because they know when you stretch the fabric this way, it becomes sheer. Not even dupe, just cheaper legging. All right, let's take these apart. Let's compare the panel pieces, starting with number 1. One thing you will notice is that the back waistband will have different shaping because on the back here, you're actually going down to accentuate the glutes. Let's move on to number 2. These are probably my least favorite. This is what's called interfacing here. It stiffens the waistband a bit. You might get a little bit hotter. This isn't gonna be as breathable. I think we're gonna have pilling issues with this. One thing you will notice about these specific leggings is that they have no front seam. By not having a front seam here, it's a much cleaner front and you're gonna have less issues with camel toe. Let's say they use the same fabric, the same thread, same factory, everything. These will cost more to produce. I would say this one and number 3, in terms of hand feel, are the closest to the Align. You're knitting it on the thicker side, everything becomes thick. Just look how thick that seam is. If you want to start a clothing brand and you go on Alibaba, this is the fabric you'll find. Let's take apart the Lululemon. So here are all of our cut leggings. We have the Lululemon Align leggings here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are going to get these fabrics, put them through our lab, benchmark them against each other, and come back here for our final score. So now we're back from testing. Let's look over the data. For the Lululemon Align, the weight of the fabric is 220 GSM. In terms of pilling, this is what the fabric looks like after 1,000 cycles. This is what we would consider a 4.5 or very good. I know some people do have pilling issues with their Align leggings. If you're gonna be throwing it in with your heavier hoodies or denim, it's gonna cause advanced wear. You can flip your leggings inside out to prevent that. So the thickness of the fabric itself is really going to give you how plush does it feel. We always sample multiple points. On average, I'm getting between 0.7 and 0.72 millimeters thick. So next we're gonna test for water wicking. There's various methods, but how we like to do it at Shift is I like to use a pipette and we have it at 50 microliters. Just a little droplet of distilled water. It took about a second for it to absorb, but it has started to spread out. So I would say this is pretty decent water absorbency. It's not gonna be as fast as a polyester fabric. Do you actually have like a, can you go in that closet there? You'll see like on the left side, but for polyester, does it fit like a polyester legging fabric? Polyester fabric here, you'll see how much faster it absorbs. That ability to spread gives you more surface area and it allows it to evaporate quicker. And then in terms of its compression, if you want a very athletic feeling legging, you'll want a higher compression, tighter fitting legging. But if you want everyday comfort, that's when you're gonna lean more towards a lighter compression fabric. This is what we call a compression curve. This is a machine we built internally. 2 other fabrics are gonna be in that lower compression range. The rest are much higher. So that is our baseline. That is the Lululemon Align. We paid 108 Canadian and they're 98 US. Let's take a look at the first dupe, number 1. In terms of its pilling, I would say it scored fairly similar. This would be considered a 4.5. On 1,000 cycles, it still maintained its integrity. This legging weighs 242 GSM. In terms of thickness, 0.68. So it is thinner, but it's heavier. Fairly similar wicking ability compared to the Lululemon Align leggings. In terms of compression for this fabric, it is definitely the highest out of all of the leggings that we tested. It's the legging that's gonna hold you in the tightest. This might not be as second skin. However, in terms of its pilling performance, wicking performance, very similar to the Align. It's just a heavier weight fabric that is gonna be more compressive. I would say I would give it a 3.5 stars out of 5. In terms of its closeness to Lululemon Aligns, while it may look the part, it is not the same. I wanna say it's about 60% of a dupe compared to the Lululemon Align.
Okay, so are you ready to find out what it is?
Sure.
Dupe number 1 was the Essential Legging from Hey Nuts. The official Hey Nuts website lists these leggings at $32 US. However, the pricing is all over the place on Amazon, which is where they seem to mostly be being purchased. In our case, we paid $55.75 Canadian.
Hey Nuts. Something might look the part, but if it doesn't feel the part, it just doesn't check the boxes, unfortunately. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, this is dupe number 2. When we look at the pilling results, you'll see there are large balls forming. This would be considered a 3 out of 5 as moderate pilling. So over time, this will wear out more easily. The fabric weight itself was 252 and 0.68 in terms of thickness. Whenever you're getting heavier weight and same thickness, a lot of times they're just using a very large yarn. So you'll see here, the water bead is just sitting on the surface. That means that there is definitely silicone treatments on this fabric, as it's the cheapest way to soften it. You start sweating in these and it is gonna get heavy. Oftentimes in leggings, you'll get sweat cracks just down the middle of the back, and these are leggings that are 100% going to do that. In terms of its compression, it starts off fairly low and then it ramps up quickly compared to the other leggings. It's not even flat lock seams. The water finally absorbed after what, a minute? I want to give this a 1 out of 5. In terms of dupe, this is not even close. I don't understand how people call this a dupe. This is like 10% of the way there.
Cool, all right, ready to find out what it is?
Yep.
Dupe number 2 was the Danskin legging from Costco. We paid $16.99 Canadian for these, but they're listed at $14.99 on the US site.
Okay. They look like $14 leggings. I love Costco. I love what you guys are doing, but these are not it. Next one. All right, this is legging number 3. Ooh. This is bad. So from what I remember earlier, it had a really nice hand feel, but if you look at these pillar results, this is so bad. This would be considered a 2, maybe 2.5. Consistently balled from edge to edge. 1, 2, maybe 3 wears, you're gonna get this much pilling. In terms of the weight of the fabric, 235, so slightly higher than the Align. As for the thickness of the fabric, 0.76 to 0.78, and let's check its water wicking abilities. So as you can see here, it is going to absorb very slowly. So you will run into sweat mark issues with this fabric. In terms of its compression results, it is very close to the Lululemon Align. It will feel very similar to the wearer. However, in terms of durability of the fabric, this does not even come close to the Aligns. As for the ratings, just like the Danskin, I'm gonna give it 1 star. In terms of closeness to the line, I would say upon first impression, this would score fairly close to the line. However, over time, you're going to notice that difference. So I'm gonna give it a 50%.
Dupe number 3 is the Dreamlux High Waisted from Colorful Koala. There were a lot of folks recommending these on TikTok in particular, perhaps because they can be purchased directly through TikTok Shop. These leggings cost us $32 US.
Okay.
A lot of people were big on this one.
Yeah. I can see if you put these on and you own a pair of Aligns, it's gonna feel almost identical. After 1 or 2 wears is where it's really gonna start showing its true color. Let's take a look at dupe 4. You'll see here the pilling results, little balls starting to form. When you feel it, not as evident. I would give this a 4. The fabric weight is 223, very close to the Align. In terms of thickness, it is 0.71, so very close to the Lululemon Aligns. Wicking ability, fairly similar to the Lululemon Aligns. The hand feel again it's a little smoother, but I touch legging fabric all day. I would say for the average wearer, you probably wouldn't even notice the difference. As for the compression, it's very close to the Lululemon Aligns. I would say it's actually a pretty decent offering. That gusset construction and the back seam, back rise detail was an interesting choice. However, from what I've seen so far, this is a pretty decent legging. 4 out of 5 stars. In terms of closeness to the Lululemon, I would say the fabric is very similar. I don't think the average consumer would be able to tell the difference between the both of these. The construction takes away points, so I'm gonna give this a 70%.
Dupe number 4 was the Butterlux High Waisted from CRZ Yoga, or Crazy Yoga, as some people on TikTok call it. We paid an even $50 for these on Amazon.ca, and they are $32 in the US.
From what I've seen so far, this is definitely the closest dupe. For most people, are they going to notice the difference? I don't think so. Yeah, I can see why people would think this is a good dupe. Next legging. Yeah. Shit. These are, again, a single jersey knit. In terms of its pilling, I can feel some balls over here starting to form. I would say 3.5, which would still be commercially acceptable. In terms of its weight, it's 321. You are getting into like jogger material, 0.82, 0.84, on the thicker end as well. In terms of its water wicking ability, it does absorb. Took a little bit, but it does absorb. And then in terms of its compression, you'll notice here, it ramps up much quicker, meaning the moment you're starting to stretch, it will start feeling tighter faster. And that's because this is a single jersey knit. It is not a interlock knit like the rest of the leggings. I'm gonna assume that this is cheaper. This is probably something you can get off Shein or Temu. It'd be fairly cheap because it's cheaper to make this fabric. It's cheaper to construct this garment. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5 stars. Closest to lose like 10%. It's not even close.
Believe it or not, dupe number 5 was actually the most expensive dupe we tested. It is the Life Atmosphere legging from Golden, aka TNA, aka Aritzia. We paid $88 Canadian, and they are $78 in the United States.
This is probably the cheapest legging for them to produce. And they're charging how much again?
88 Canadian, 78 US.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if this is a older product line that they just happen to still be running. If this is a newer product line, they chose this fabric. Yeah, so that's it for this one. Most of these are fairly far off in terms of being dupes. Calling something a Lululemon dupe is gonna get you a lot more clicks than good legging review. The closest would be the CRZ Yoga for the fabric. However, in terms of construction, it is not close. Let us know what other dupes we should be looking at, as this was a pretty interesting shootout for us. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Till next time.